This is the Great Commission. The charge that would shape the church and define the purpose of every believer who follows it. So the Great Commission would change and shape and charge the church. Who's the church? We are. It's okay if I teach? We are the church. And it said it would change and define our purpose of all of us. And number one is this. Jesus says the call is to go. So in your inserts, you fill out, it says the call is to go. Here's the commission. Right now he's going to commission us. Let's look at verse 18 and the first half of verse 19. I said, then Jesus called them and said, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations. So the first thing Jesus does is establish his authority. That's important to know. Because, right, I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to know that you can actually walk this out. The first thing he does, he established his authority. And his authority wasn't just established on Israel or over Israel, but over all creation. He says in heaven and on the earth. So not just over Israel, not just over the Jews, but over everyone. He says my authority is over all people, all languages, all nations, all groups. First, he says, I'm going to commission you. He said the first call is to go. Here's the second call. Man, I'm going to get through this. Here's the second call. He says, I'm going to command you to do what? Number two, the mission is to make disciples. To make disciples. Let's look at the second part of verse 19, the first part of verse 20. He says, no, so he said, hey, how do we make disciples? He said, make disciples, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teach them to obey everything I have commanded you. So here's what I know. The heart of the Great Commission is to make disciples. So, Pastor, what's a disciple then? That's probably what some of you are thinking. What's a disciple? A disciple is a student of the word, a learner. A disciple is the one that wants to say, I want to commune in relations with the Father and his word so that I can go and replicate what I just experienced. Here's the final thing he does. Number three, he gives the promise. The promise of what? Of his presence. He gives us the promise of his presence. Does this make sense to you? Verse 20, second part of verse 20, he says, and surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. Here's an interesting point about the Great Commission, family. Here's an interesting point. It's on your insert. It doesn't end with the commission. It ends with a promise. Ends with the promise. Jesus doesn't just send his disciples out on their mission alone. He goes with them. And this assurance is the fuel that empowers the mission, reminding us that we do not make disciples in our own strength, but through the abiding presence of Jesus himself. Can we just take a moment, if you're trying to grab anything out of this text, what does he talk about continuously over and over and over again to his disciple? It is highly important that they abide in him.